I have neighbours on both sides of my house. They both have large rural blocks. On the right-hand side, I've noticed that the neighbour has a real talent for gardening. So you'll see them out there maybe on a long weekend. The other weekend I noticed they put up a brand new pergola, laid some pavers. They spent all afternoon edging the lawn, planted roses. The place looked immaculate, looked like a garden show. But then within a couple of weeks, I noticed that through lack of time spent tending that area, that the lawn started to grow back over the curbs. The roses started to wilt from not being watered or planted at the right time of year, and the pergola started to get covered over with leaves and sticks, whatnot. Then on the other side, my neighbour next door, I noticed she spends maybe about an hour in the garden each day, maybe half an hour, but she's there every day. And her garden, while it's not going to win any front page of the garden magazine accolades, it looks tidy, it looks clean, it's impressive, and you can tell that it's well tended through consistent tending of her garden. Welcome to the Bare Bones podcast. This is a podcast that we're going to do once a month. It's for our members. When we're here, we're going to be kind of rotating this couch. Today we were scraping the barrel a bit. Our favourite coaches weren't available, so I have Matt Retallick and Dom. Guys, who is tending your vegetable store at Laverton Markets while you're here?
Monday's a rest day.
Monday's a rest day. Fair enough. Cool.
Lots of cousins as well.
Yeah,
The cousins.
The family's huge.
If you want half price off your fruit and veg, go down to Lebanon Market. See the boys down
and
Lebanon.
concreting as well. We got that too.
Concreting, vegetables, all the rest of it. Each week we're going to discuss a topic that's relevant to your training, and potentially there's some parallels to things off the mats as well. This week we're going to be talking about talent versus consistency. We're going to have a discussion of the techniques of the week. So we're going to talk from both the striking and the grappling sides and run through those. We're going to review upcoming fights or events as they relate to our fighters and our athletes, or depending on the calendar, what happened over the weekend with our fighters during that month. And then at the end, we're going to play a quick game. So, guys, thank you and welcome. We're going to call the topic discussion that we discuss each month the Shark Tank. So, I'm going to be setting a timer for 5 minutes. This is time limited because knowing you two will be here all day. We've got a class starting in about half an hour. So, guys, 5 minutes. I led in with a discussion or an analogy around having a neighbour on each side of my house. One had a real natural talent for gardening, and they'll spend a short amount of time there and they'll achieve these awesome results. But through lack of attention, the place started to kind of become overgrown with weeds, etc. Where on the other side, time spent in the garden, just a small amount of time, but consistently each day, produced a more kind of long-standing, observable result. Is that a fair analogy, and how do you think that might relate to people's training here?
It's hard because talent, I feel like we talk about talent as something that's movable, and I think, and maybe it's wrong, that talent is something that's a little more fixed. It's almost like your ability to naturally be good at something or have a knack for something without being taught, whereas then consistency is effort in a particular direction. And I think it's a tough one because talent is dispersed out in the population unfairly. So it can often be like, oh, I can't, if I'm not talented at something, I'm never going to be able to get there. But I think time is the key factor. If you're consistent, you put your effort in the right direction, you can overcome most talent gaps.
Mm-hmm. So when you say that talent's kind of dispersed unevenly through the population, you're kind of talking about me and Dom, yeah? I got all the talent, Dom has to work really, really hard at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, I always thought that consistency would build talent because Talent is just your ability to pick up a new skill or be naturally good at something. Whereas if you can consistently be good at that skill or consistently get better to be good at that skill, then it overrides the talent. I mean, we see examples across fighting, across people in the gym, across certain athletes. I mean, you could be working at something for years and years and years consistently, but not be good at it. So I feel like if the consistency will build the talent into your training or into your skill set.
Yeah.
So then, like, I guess talent's movable based on when you assess the person. Like, if we took Dom 10 years ago versus Dom today, you would say, well, talent, let's say physically in terms of strength, speed, endurance, all of that, plus, maybe mental agility, attention, all of those things are fixed at a point in time. And then I guess the minute you say, well, I'm going to improve my attention so that when I'm in a 5-round fight, I can focus on my game plan a little more. That's consistency. It like bridges the realm into consistent effort and hard work, and I think, it means that someone who's talented from the get-go may need to be put in different competitive environments to get the most out of them, particularly like amateur versus professional competition.
There's definitely I feel like when you see, like we're talking here kind of very generally, right? Like this is a very general conversation, but when we're talking about combat sports, there is your kind of en masse kind of amateur and pro scene, and then there's the elite, like the creme de la creme, like the top of the UFC, the Limpini Stadium fighters, and like where is that kind of sweet spot between you need to be consistent, but then you need kind of that supreme talent to kind of push you over the edge to become the champion? Do you think there is one? Do you think that's fair?
But you look at all the top athletes who are the creme de la creme, they have a body of work. They have 10 years, 15 years of work to sort of get them to that point. I mean, classic example would be someone like Alexander Volkanovski. Now, he didn't have, when he was coming up in the ranks, he didn't have these elite college athletes he was fighting against in Australia. He was fighting against general fighters, probably people not with a similar skill set. But now, if you look at his body of work, it's hard to deny that he's the best featherweight in the world. But that's based on him being consistently challenging himself and improving himself. And now, I'd say he's probably the most talented fighter in the featherweight division of the UFC, at least.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we're pretty much aligned. But one thing that, and I guess if someone's watching this and they've just started, like this might be a good conversation to hear, because one of the things that I hear first often when people come to the mat is, and they're trying to class for the first time, and you guys will have heard these, I'm uncoordinated, I'm not good at sports. These are the things, but like and that's our 5-second clapper, so maybe a closing point is perhaps what you might be really good at, and recognise this in yourself, is you're good at rocking up consistently, and you're good at persevering, and you can be persistent and form good habits, and that will get you over the line. Don't worry about the uncoordinated stuff. The training processes will help put that all in play for you.
Yeah, it puts a primo on having excellent coaching, because I feel if you have someone, let's say athlete A, who's less talented or uncoordinated, or mentally finds it hard to focus, or physiologically they're not the fittest person in the world, if your coaches can identify those and put you in a sustained direction that's sort of individually tailored to your weaknesses, I think you can make up for a lot of ground in a very fast time by just being consistent. The problem with that is when you're in a situation being taught bollocks, and then on top of that you're coming in a situation where you haven't got any physiological or mental talent to draw from. That's where things get difficult. So I guess the primo is on, like a university brings up the students that are in that middle or lower ground to become high achievers. Good coaching really serves the people that are in the middle ground. What I mean?
Cool. Excellent. Nice. That's Shark Tank done for this month's Bare Bones podcast. All right, moving along. We're setting a 5-minute clapper here, guys. Technique of the week. Let's call this section On the Mats. All right, on the mats. Guys, you both spent a lot of time upstairs. What's going on in the grappling round? What can we expect for this week or this segment?
So, been working a lot on single leg X, which is a very, it's a fundamental movement, but it's also a complex movement at the same time. It's one of those positions where it's all about the setup. Once you've got the setup, the movement's quite easy, quite simple, and it's very, very effective. It sort of applies the 2-on-1 principle, having two legs on opponents. One of the legs opens up sweeps, transitions, attacks, all sorts of things. So single leg X is basically something you can hit from any position, whether it be closed guard, half guard, open guard, which we've sort of marrying the two sort of themes together. For the advanced guys, we're sort of chucking in a couple of heel hook submissions and things like that, but obviously there's no substitute for being on top. So it's all about using that X guard to get on top.
Awesome. And so for those that might be, pretty new to grappling or ground fighting, what are some of the principles, or what's like a handful of principles, like a recipe that will help them kind of understand X guard? What are some of the principles at play?
I guess starting out, the most important thing for particularly our form of grappling is what you can count on your opponent to do in that situation. Like in a typical grappling scenario where you're forced to engage and the person on top is forced to try to pin you to the ground or forced to try to submit you, you kind of only have one response, which is this guy is coming at me. Whereas for us it's like, well, understanding if you're starting out in an open guard, this person cannot just pass my legs and flatten me out on the floor like you're kind of wrestling with siblings, you know what I mean? Or this person can hit me, or this person's going to try to run out and scramble out to get me back into a striking exchange. So if you're starting out playing with open guard, the things that I would encourage you to think about would be, one, how can I make sure that the person doesn't have balance at any point in time? So they've not got the base to hit you with, so you're relatively safe. The next one is, if they do try to pass my legs, what are moves that I can have to sweep the person or get on top or get to a more advantageous position. And the last one would be, if this person tries to run out and put me back into a striking exchange, which if you're a grappler you'd prefer not to be in, what are some things that I can do in that situation? So they're kind of the three scenarios to have in your head, and every single class go through a little checklist of, have I got one of each of these?
Cool, nice.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of like a fight that's coming up. We've got Oliveira and Gagey on the cards, and one thing I see Oliveira does really well from the bottom is he almost feints with entries into positions such as single leg X, and then the threat of the leg attack entanglement exists, and he often will force either a scramble or force the fight back to his feet or to a superior position. So get someone like Gagey, that's if he finds himself on the bottom, and Gagey's got very good, he's got great striking, but he's got very good top pressure wrestling game, that could potentially force it back to the feet or into a scramble where he might be able to expose the back or a new position, right? So it's good for that. Cool. Well, that's in our just quickly in our striking in the Muay Thai and in our MMA at the moment. I'll talk from the Muay Thai perspective. We're looking at scoring with the rear leg. So how we use the rear leg, regardless of what stance we're in, to set up a score or to score with it. And so from a Muay Thai perspective, kicking and kneeing are great techniques because they tend to have a profound observable effect on the opponent, right? Like if you kick someone with your rear leg, which is predominantly going to have more power because it's already set back and your hips are open, so they're loaded, it's going to have a noticeable impact on the opponent. Move them, take their balance, cause damage. So the rear leg's very important, and we're going to be talking a lot about how what we can put in front of those big scoring techniques to help it arrive at the target without it being blocked, without it being evaded, or with it being caught. Because while it has more power, there's tends to be more talent because it's traveling from further away, and people tend to be more committed to trying to defend something off the rear leg because it's got hell and high water behind it. Excellent. So that's the on the mats session. Boom! Look at that. That's timing. I'm Captain Time over here. Yeah, I invented the abacus. That's the on the mat section of Bare Bones done for this week, guys. We have now an opportunity to discuss, as I reset my phone, fights and events that we've got coming up. We're going to call this section the locker. All right, the locker. I know you guys, coming from boarding schools, what you guys used to do in the locker room is going to stay off this couch. But we're going to talk about fights that are coming up. We've got plenty on the cards. We had nothing on over the weekend. We had the weekend off, which was heaps of fun. But just around the corner, so in 2 weeks' time, we've got Big Michael fighting. Big Michael's making his pro boxing debut, the Slender Man. Long and thin, baby. Essentially, he's not so thin anymore.
No, he's looking thick. Very thick.
He's looking thick. So he's going to be making his pro boxing debut versus a very strong-looking, athletic guy who really gives a shit. Let's be honest, out of another gym, but just down the road in Geelong. How cool is it to be able to go to a fight show in our hometown?
The hometown hero. Is he from Geelong or is he a Torquay boy?
He's from Torquay.
Oh, okay.
I think he's born and bred. That's why he's so tall.
Yeah, it's the water up. It's surprised he's not a southpaw.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we know. Well, he can. He will be switch hitting in this fight. So he can. We've been working on some stuff out of southpaw. So predominantly actually out of southpaw. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be heaps of fun. If you haven't got tickets yet, don't snooze because they're almost sold out. Use Michael's ticket code MC1. And that will help get him recognised financially. I've been doing some sparring with Michael, and it's not fun. Not fun at all. Making me feel very old and slow, which I am, but he's making me understand it more intimately.
Adding kerosene to the fire.
There's kerosene on the fire, bro. My joints are burning. So Wildfighter. Also on that card we have Mark at the sprightly young age of fighting in the division. So he'll be walking out earlier on in the night. So come support Mark. We're going to have a special guest in the corner for Mark's fight too. So Mark Robinson, the Torquay local. I need a fight name for him. Then on April the 10th, we've got the Young Guns fighting out of the gym on Moy Vic. So I'm loving Moy Vic. It's like the fights on Moy Vic, the up and comers are just getting like so much kind of accolade around. Like the people involved in the scene, they're coming, they're going, holy shit, the next level, like the people who are going to be fighting pro over the next like 2 to 5 years, it's going to change Muay Thai in Australia. And Muay Vic, that breeding ground, without the lights, without the smoke machine, without the drunk people next to the ring, is profound in terms of grassroots development. We've got, so far nominated, we've got Oscar Eddington. We've got Tom and Luca. So what's exciting about them guys is they're all homegrown talent. We've got a lot of people. I think we did a muster the other day. We've got 24 active fighters out of the gym. 24, which is pretty cool for a small gym.
Yeah.
But a lot of those, especially the pros, have all come from other camps and bring styles. These 3 are homegrown. So I'm really excited to see those young guys get back in there.
Where's that fight going to be?
That fight is in Altona, sunny Altona, at the Altona Sports Centre. It's like $25 or something to go along, fit for the family. It's during the day on a Sunday, and the New Zealand Grocers down the road, so I'll be going to get some chop suey and some hangi and getting stuck into that bit of fried bread. Then we have Eternal MMA. So Roy has been matched with a guy called Dom Marfan, who's a very good grappler, isn't he? So how's Dom looking up? I don't care about
I'm doing really good.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Hey, I had noticed you're doing well. How's Roy doing upstairs? He's just murking people, tapping at black belts and everything up there.
I noticed that the stock of the lollies in the gym has been untouched since Roy's been announced. So I'm glad that he's focusing on his weight. There's a bit more chocolate left for me and Matty to get into.
100%.
But Roy is looking phenomenal at the moment, and he's. You want to talk about consistency? There isn't a moment in this gym where you don't really see him training. In fact, he's not here now, so maybe you might need.
Well, it's because I banned him.
Yeah.
So we've had to ban Roy from training. So I've attached a homing beacon inside of his ear. He doesn't know that, and so I know exactly where he is at all times, and I know how many. I've got a step counter impregnated in his body. Don't ask how.
You got
Don't ask questions.
spies around the neighbourhood. If you catch him running around G and Juck, you'll run him down with the van. So.
But that's going to be huge, and that's in Melbourne at the Timber Yard, Eternal MMA, and it's going to be on UFC Fight Pass, which is pretty cool. There's Spruken, striker versus grappler matchup. They're mistaken. They're talking. This is a grappler versus MMA, like an MMA fighter, someone who can strike, who can wrestle, who can grapple, can do it all now. He's tapping out black belts left, right, and centre. So if they think they're going to out grapple Roy, they've got another thing coming. Then we've got just very quickly, my 10-second clap has gone off. We've got Drew. Already matched up for his return on Demolition. That's going to be heaps of fun. Looking at Dylan Morris tomorrow back on that. Get more go with Morrow back on that card. And then, guys, we've got some big news to announce for John in the coming weeks. John Ho, Sexy Yama will be making his return. Maybe the last hurrah for John Ho. But more to come on that. All right. So that brings us to my favourite section of the podcast that we've never done, and this is a game. This is rapid fire with Whitewater Willie. So the rules for this game, I'm going to just quickly punch a question at you. You have to say the first thing that comes in your brain. If you lose, then you have to leave the gym. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. All right, are you ready for rapid fire with Whitewater Willie?
Let's get it.
Both ends at the same time? Or?
No, I'll direct it at you.
Okay.
Come on, mate. I sent you guys the rules.
Oh, okay,
before,
yeah. Don't play by the rules, but that's all right. Let's do it.
Okay, Matt, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Dom, rats or bats?
Bats.
Matt, kick in the head or kick in the saps?
Kick in the head.
Good. Dom, how many sides to a triangle?
3.
Matt, how many sides to a pineapple?
Oh my God, none.
Dom, how many turns in a tight circle?
1.
Good. Matt, favourite fighter?
Volkanovski.
Dom, favourite fighter?
GSP.
Matt, favourite girlfriend Mel doesn't know about?
Oh, weren't too many before. Just one night stands.
Dom, how many minutes until Mel shows up in the car park with a tyre iron?
0.30 seconds.
Good. Matt, would you lick a glove from the loan equipment or a handle of the Airdyne bike upstairs?
Handle of the Airdyne bike.
Dom, would you rather lick a mat upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, that's it. That is the game of Rapid Fire with Whitewater Willie done and dusted. Thank you for joining us for the first ep of Bare Bones. Each month we're going to do this. So Glenn behind the camera just almost had a meltdown behind there when he thought he was going to have to listen to this crap for each week. Each month, and we'll try and rotate these guys. They have to run their fruit and veggie stand. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the mats.